Hello, boys and girls. It's that time again. It's time for the Successful Home Inspector Show, where we're here to share some funny home inspection stories, maybe some funny things that you found, how to increase your business. We're going to hear some success stories, maybe some stories that weren't so successful. Maybe we can learn from them. And we're going to share some resources here with you that help increase your business, and we're hoping to help raise the level of the industry as well. So sit back, and here's your host for the Successful Home Inspector Show, Preston Sandlin. Thanks a lot. Are you struggling to make your home inspection business grow? Well, have I got the answer for you. HomeInspectionFlyers.com. At HomeInspectionFlyers.com, you get 5 flyers a month. There are 3 sales flyers and 2 recipe flyers. And you can customize them to exactly what you want. And these make great flyers when you go to the offices to put in their boxes, especially if you're doing like candy bowls or something along that nature. Like I said, it's 5 flyers a month for $29.99, and they're very creative, and you just put in your information. They come as a publisher file, and you just put in your information, and then you send them off to get printed. You can send them off online, and you can get color copies for less than 10 cents a copy. It's a great way to go. I went from being a 1-man home inspection firm to a 7-man home inspection firm on this one strategy alone. So try it today. HomeInspectionFlyers.com. Thanks.
Well, hey guys, I got a special treat for you today. I am here with an old friend of mine. I've known him quite a while. We've actually been deep sea fishing together, and he's just a good guy, a very smart inspector. And I'm sure he's going to give a lot of knowledge. He's been an inspector for 10 years. They are in Indiana, but basically almost a suburb of Louisville, Kentucky. But I'll let him tell you more about that. So without further ado, William Troutman. How you doing today, William?
Super. Thanks for inviting me, Preston. I've been listening to these pods and glad to have the opportunity to share with you. Yeah, we are out of extreme southern Indiana, and it is really a suburb of Louisville, Kentucky, on the Indiana side. We actually live outside of that. Our office is kind of outside of that area, so we're about a good 30 minutes to any major concentration of inspections, from our area.
Okay, so you guys have to travel. What's your radius that you cover?
It's a pretty wide radius, but as we've grown, because of taking on that Louisville market, which we just did about a year ago, I was strategically hired, a guy right out of Louisville and one that lives closer to the river on the Indiana side, and then we got a guy that lives a little north of us to kind of help cover that. So really, if you looked at it, it's probably going to be, I'm going to say it's probably a good 100-mile radius.
Wow.
But we're, covering that kind of strategically from where the guys are positioned as much as possible.
Sure. That brings up a point. I know we're going to go off script here for a second, but I had this debate with an inspector the other day. I don't make my guys come in every day because of that thing. We meet every 2 weeks, but because we have such a wide. Do you make your guys come in every day to the office, or do you meet every so often? How do you work that?
Yeah, it's definitely not an everyday. If I did, I wouldn't be able to afford to pay them coming up.
Right.
But we do it twice a month, and it'll be the first Monday of every month, and then the third Monday of every month. But the first Monday is a physical on-site. That's where we back up our data and re-equip our trucks and make sure that we're ready for the next month. And then that third Monday, we actually do an online go-to-meeting, and we do that. We do that for quality assurance on report writing, or maybe a new marketing piece that we put out, and we're promoting something. So it's just a kind of a between the actual monthly meeting, just gives us that little. And we'll usually do that like at 7 a.m. because they've usually got to leave their home by 8, to be at the inspection by 9 is when the first one starts. So we'll usually do that like from 7 to 7:30, so it stays out of everybody's schedule. But the monthly meeting, the first Monday where it's physical, we actually, block out an inspection time slot for that. And we'll do a lot of, in-house. We just started bringing other vendors in, that kind of thing as well. So
cool. Yeah, we've done that, and I told them if you want to get in front of us and impress my guys, bring them food. Bring them food.
Always works.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing we do with realtors. Let me back up on that just a second, William. You said that third meeting you do, GoToMeeting, is that the software you use specifically? I know we've used Skype and Google Hangout. So do you use GoToMeeting? Is that what you use? How does that work?
I did use GoToMeeting, and it's really, really similar to Google Hangout. I guess the big difference with the two of them is with GoToMeeting, you can see the folks, but if you're going to record it, then your cameras don't show up in the actual recording. But while you're, meeting with each other, you can see each other through your cameras. But it records itself and saves right to your laptop, so you don't, with Google Hangout, if you're going to do something like that, you've got to go to YouTube and download it and all that good stuff. But I already had GoToMeeting because of the coaching thing with Ken, using that quite a bit that way. So it just worked out really well for us to implement it as well.
Sure. What's the charge on that GoToMeeting, if you don't mind me asking, if you know off the top of your head?
Well, I knew you were going to ask me that, and actually Harriet set that up, and I'm going to guess it was about maybe $50 or something a year, but don't.
Oh,
just check it out for yourself. It's very affordable, whatever it was. Yeah.
That's not bad. That's not bad at all. Huh. Well, I'm going to look into that.
You need to look it up yourself if you're interested. I know it's very affordable. And there are other programs. They got like a training, one specifically for training as well, which we don't need, so we're just using the, to get. I think there's a free trial, too, when you first get on. Yeah.
Hmm. Well, yeah, if it's like $50 a year, that's nothing, man. That's nothing. Well, let me back up just a little bit, William. I got off on that rabbit trail, but I think it was a good rabbit trail. So tell us, not many of us grew up wanting to be a home inspector. Again, I think it's a fairly new profession. So how did you get into home inspection? And by the way, what did you want to be when you were a kid?
Well, this will sound kind of funny, but I come from a musical background. My family was all musicians, so as a kid, I was a rock star. I graduated high school midterm, senior year, had enough credits to get out, and immediately hit the road playing music professionally for about 5 years, traveled all over the U.S. like a flipping gypsy.
Oh, wow.
And met my wife, Sherry, in high school, actually. She joined me on the road there playing music for a while. And then when the first baby came along, I realized I needed to get a haircut and a real job.
Right.
So I started working, and I'll keep this short, but I started working at a wood trim manufacturing company. That was about a 15, 16-year stint. Worked my way up into human resources. The company just grew leaps and bounds, and they brought another company in to take over human resources and the safety department, which I was in human resources, so I lost my job just like that. But I had several rental properties that I had acquired, and I've always been in construction. My family's kind of big in construction as well, so I'm always kind of involved in that facet of it. So when I lost my job, then I think they gave me like about a $10,000 severance pay, and that's about all I had to my name. Right. But I was able to do that and invested in an old home, and we gutted it out and fixed it up and flipped it, and I did that for about 6 years. Through that, got acquainted with several real estate agents who several had suggested that I be a home inspector.
Right.
And I really just kind of giggled at that. I never thought about that really being something that I would want to do. But when the housing market started going south, I would have all my money tied up in these houses, couldn't buy one till one would sell, and I'm sitting around on my butt. So that's when I thought, well, maybe I'll take a second look at this inspecting thing. As a matter of fact, about that same time, I had an inspection, very first inspection I'd ever witnessed, done on one of the homes that I was trying to sell. And this guy was definitely one of the, scare them away. I don't have any liability because they didn't buy it and I still get paid kind of guy. Maybe I can do another inspection. This is like the fourth or fifth inspection this guy had done for this young couple. So that was kind of the final straw for me. I'm like, and he got paid very well. So I thought, well, maybe that's something I can do between flipping these homes. And so I started doing that, and within a year, seeing that there was some real potential, and kind of went from there. I hooked up with Ken Compton about the second year of my business, and from there just started implementing and doing, what really makes the bank marketing, which nobody really thinks about when you first get into this. But when I realized that I had to become a a marketer of inspection services instead of a home inspector really turned things around, and we've continued to prosper and grow. Been really blessed.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you said you've been doing inspections about 10 years. William, tell me, what's some of the changes you've seen in that time?
You know, right when I came into it, was just in our area anyway, and again, remember we're kind of rural. Things happen here quite some time after they happen everywhere else. As I was coming into it, the transition to computerized reports was kind of taking place. Not that some folks weren't already, in other areas into that, but in our area, there were still mainly handwritten reports. So
right.
my first report that I put out there was something that I created with a Word document from nabbing from other inspectors in the area from their handwritten, or from the, I would say handwritten, but check the box type, carry off a carbon copy report. So I'd say the biggest change, of course, is the technology and what you can do now, from your smartphone and being able to produce these reports with digital pictures and live links on stuff right there on site is probably the biggest change that I've seen come along.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I mean, if you look at what the report we produce now compared to, I got into this business mid-'90s. Oh, man, it's night and day. Yeah, I look back now. I was just talking with one of my inspectors the other day. Well, matter of fact, I was interviewing a new employee, and we were talking about the report writing, and he'd whipped out one of the old reports, and I'm like, what in the world kept me from getting sued? How did I not get sued the first year or two that I was in business? Just blows me away. Yeah, well, people have gotten more litigious over time, because I gave a presentation today to realtors, and I was, I actually had an old report and a new report, and the thickness was just crazy. And I said, part of it, it's litigious. I mean, if you don't, oh man, I'm sure you've heard it. You didn't tell me how bad it was. You didn't, even though you got it on the report, you didn't make it clear enough. I mean, it's just gotten a little crazy. But anyway, well, this is a two-part question, William. First part is, how many inspectors do you have? And the second part is, what was it like hiring that first one? Can you take us back there?
Okay. Today we are 8 strong, or will be. I'll bring this new fellow in on this interview. He'll be coming on with us. See, 8. Yeah, there'll be 8 of us again. I had lost. The guy had been with me 9 years, and I had a new baby. I won't get off on this story. But I had a new baby and had a job opportunity that I just could not even begin to compete with. So really wish him all the best. But I had some big plans for him, management-wise and those kind of things. So it really put a kink in my plans. But we're rolling on, and now I'm bringing this other guy on. So we are 8 inspectors strong. We have 2 ladies that handle the office, answering the phones and scheduling, that kind of thing. My wife is very deeply involved, my right hand. And then my oldest daughter now is our marketing rep, just doing a bang-up job for us. And my younger daughter, she teaches school, but she's pretty artistic, and she helps out a lot as well. So it's kind of a family operation, if you will.
Right.
My son-in-law is one of my inspectors. My nephew is one of my inspectors. So, I always hear, don't hire family, don't hire family. And I truly believe that's a good thing to follow. But I've been fortunate with the fact that I do have so much family involved at this point. Back, though, to make that first hire, that's a great question. And, we just, with the coaching group, we just took a whole bunch of people from one-man shop to multi-inspector firms. And it's funny to look back now because, I went through the same anxiety, same issues that these guys face, but it is such a hard step to take, to turn somebody else loose to represent you, especially when you've been a one-man shop all these years, and your name, your name is riding on somebody else's, performance. It is nerve-wracking. My very first one took me almost a year to get the guy trained and out there. As a matter of fact, it was one of the workshops that we were going to that following year, and we went to the first year, and we'd already implemented a few marketing things and just getting crazy busy. And then when we came back from that first workshop, we're like, if we're going to implement this, and that, these things we talked about, we're just going to have to, hire somebody. So we made the hire, and then that whole year, I hired this guy I think it was in November was the workshop. and I made this hire like in January, February. And so trained him, he ran with me on every inspection, and then when the next November rolled around, we wanted to go back to that workshop, and I was forced to cut him loose on his own. So, and that's crazy now looking back at that, but he was nervous, I was nervous, but I'll tell you, when that happened, we're sitting on the beach there in Florida, Sherry and I, and I'm answering the phone and scheduling this guy. And I looked at her then and I said, this is the way this is done. This is the way we're supposed to be doing this. So, and that's been our goal, to get back to that point. Here I am 8 inspectors later, and I'm still not sitting on the beach.
I hear you. Well, yeah, and I know there's a lot of guys out there, listeners, that are struggling, wanting to hire their first one. And, one message I would have to them, I'm sure you felt the same way, is, nobody's going to do it as good as you.
Right.
But I heard somewhere, and I'm not sure where I'd give credit, but I don't know exactly where it came from. If you can find somebody who's 80% as good as you, then that's good. That's good. But you can't do everything. You can't do everything. And at some point, you got to pull back. And, I went through that same thing. I didn't think they could do it better than me. And, the realtors don't help out in a way because they're always asking for you and your ego, but now, honestly, they don't ask for me anymore. They ask for my guys. So I finally just let go of my ego, and I tell people, like, I got guys that are younger, smarter, better looking, and got, better health than me. So they're probably a better candidate to do it than me these days anyway.
Right.
Well, cool.
When you go back to that first hire, I spent a lot of time, just making sure that he was with me, so he could be, because back then, I don't know how it is in your area, but, back then, the agents were always there. Today, they've been so scared to death about, legality stuff that they rarely show up, or if they do, it's just at the very end.
Right.
So we just see the agents on site like we used to, but back then it was really important to, as I brought people on, to have them through the training process in front of those agents, so they were kind of used to them when we did cut them loose, but we don't get that opportunity now. But I'm like you, good enough is good enough. And that's a hard pill to swallow when you especially starting out, you want to be so perfect in everything you do. But yeah, good enough's good enough. And I think the way you design your report templates is very important when you go to hiring other people, so everybody's consistently saying the same thing.
Sure. And that's, I always tell people, that's what makes Starbucks and places like that so successful, that no matter where you go, if you're in Indiana, North Carolina, or Florida, you walk into a Starbucks, the quality and the consistency is going to be there. The same drinks, a latte is going to taste the same in each one.
Right. Exactly.
And, and that's and the other part, second part of this, that listeners out there, the other thing is you have to wean these realtors off of you onto that person. And, one thing you could say is, William's not available, but John is. And John has been trained by William and pretty much talks, and acts just like William, so that's kind of the process.
Yeah, we do that a lot. And then we're careful about that, too. If we want the agents to call in and request a certain inspector. We give them, extra points for that. But at the same point, we make sure after they've used them 3 or 4 times in a row that the next time that, they're not available, just so that they're kind of forced to use somebody else.
Yeah, you don't want them getting too cozy because, yeah, they can leave you. All right. Well, you talked about it a little bit, and I know, William, this depends on the experience level of each inspector, but do you have a training process now that you've hired, been through it several times? Do you have a training process, and what's that look like?
We do, and we've tried to get this down to a very efficient process. Because we're a multi-inspector firm, I take advantage of that. So like the new fellow that we're bringing on now, there'll actually be 3 inspectors on site. Just to kind of give you a picture of that, it would be the new employee with the lead inspector who is training him. And that lead inspector is using a walkie-talkie to communicate to the other inspector who's set up with the laptop at the kitchen counter or wherever that may be. So he's able to feed that data, what his findings are, right to get the data input done, and that gives him more time to sit there and explain to the new inspector why he's saying what he said, and he can move on. So it doesn't really it still slows the inspection down some, but not like it would if you just had two guys there. That's one of the things with a one-man shop is trying to go multi. That first training is going to be all on you. So if you can think through that as you're doing it, the next time I get ready to do this, how can I make it more efficient? If that means we do a ton of video stuff, so we make the guys watch a lot of our videos and then read through our reports. And the training process kind of goes like that. They'll do about 10 inspections that way, then they'll flip and go to the guy with the laptop and become familiar with, the software program itself. And that kind of goes back and forth until they get to the point about the third set of 10 inspections is when they start kind of doing it on their own, yet it's actually the reports are all QA'd and, okayed by the lead inspector before they're sent out. And then that last group, they would actually be doing everything on their own, including the review with the clients.
No, that is good stuff. Good stuff. I'm gonna steal some of that. I hope you don't mind.
Yeah, it's done real well for us. But, we've always kind of done the walkie-talkie deal. On larger homes, having two guys out there has just been a real good way to speed things up. But for training purposes, it really helps. Within 50 inspections or less, they're pretty much standing on their own.
Yeah. Now, I want to add a little something here, William. When guys, like if you hire your first guy or you're training somebody, I know what's going to go through your mind because it certainly went through my mind. You're out there training this guy. It's going to take you a lot longer to do the inspection than it would if you were just doing it by yourself. And you always got to tell yourself, there's an old Robert Kiyosaki story about, hauling buckets or building a pipeline. And I always, tell myself that, look, you can do it faster by yourself, but you're hauling buckets. And if you get somebody trained and then they can do it on their own, you're building a pipeline. So it's going to take more time now, but the rewards, the dividends are going to pay off down the road. You know what I mean? So, you just do it. Just do it. The Nike quote.
Right.
Speaking of quotes, changing gears a little bit, William, do you have a success quote you'd like to share with us?
Do I have a what?
A success quote or a quote that you like to use.
I don't know. That kind of caught me off guard. I don't know if I really have a success quote or motto. I just, through the coaching, I guess my big thing with these guys is just do it because they're so, when I look back at where I could be now if I would have just done it.
Sure.
When I first learned about it, instead of being, afraid to step off the cliff, I have been my own. I'm sure it's probably the same for everybody, but I've been my own worst roadblock.
Right.
Success, just because of not believing enough in myself or being, intimidated by making that next move. So I don't know that I really have a quote, but I guess I would say just hindsight has been, don't be afraid to
that's good. That's good stuff, William. Well, William, let's say that I'm a buyer or a real estate agent in your market. There are other home inspectors in your market. Why should I hire you? Is there something you do that others don't in your market?
Yeah, we have a whole list of USPs, but our number one thing is, which we preach to our real estate agents, it's not what we say, it's how we say it. And so we provide a very, very thorough inspection that protects the real estate agents and protects that client, but at the same time we, relay that message even in print. So it covers everybody, but at the same time we're not, alarming someone unnecessarily. Not that you don't have those clients that no matter what you say or do, they're going to freak out, because you do have those. But that's our big strong point. I mean, beyond that, there's no one else in our area that provides the service and response that we do. Most of the guys in our area are still. I really don't have that many multi-inspector firms. So for an agent to call and actually get, a professional answering the phone every time that they call is a big plus in itself. So
right.
Like that we build upon. But I'd say that we're known for, as a matter of fact, we do so many lunch and learns and continuing aid classes that I always start them out with, there are two places you don't want to hear, oh my gosh. And they'll pretty much feed that back to me. It's brain surgery and a home inspection. I mean, it really, that's an old kinism, but that's since I heard that from day one, I've repeated that in our area and pretty much known for that little it right there when we start a program.
Well, I will tell you something. I said that to a realtor one time. I said, yeah, that's true. Yeah, but there is one time when it's good to hear it not. Anyway, that's a really dirty joke. So anyway, let's move right along. So, William, tell us, what do you do in your spare time?
In the summertime, we two things. We have a bike. We love to ride, and then summer before last, we bought a boat. A little, ski, fishing, full inner tubes, that kind of thing. So we'll spend a lot of time on the water in the summer times. Through the winter, I will play a little music now and then, but not as much as I'd like to.
Right. Oh, I meant to ask you when you said that. What instrument did you play in the band? Or did you sing?
I did sing a little, and I was a drummer.
Oh, cool, cool.
My previous life, yeah.
Cool. Do you have any stuff on YouTube out there anywhere that we can watch?
No, YouTube wasn't around back then, man.
I hear you. I know my kids are so lucky. They're like, man, I'm like, you got all these film with you and stuff. I said, man, all my baby pictures are black and white. I'm old.
Now, my son, what used to be our office here on site, I had a little one-car detached garage that I kind of converted over. But since then, we've actually got an off-site office. And so I gave him that original office, and he's converted that into a nice studio. He's got some nice equipment out there and recording some local groups. And they got a lot of stuff on YouTube and posting stuff on Facebook all the time. But it's, it's the new day screamo music.
Well, that's the thing now, they say. Well, William, tell us something about you that most people don't know.
That I was a musician there for a long time was probably the biggest thing people always seem to be surprised at.
Right.
Cool. That's probably it. I got
one. I got one for William that most people don't know. William likes girly drinks. I have this on good accounts.
Yeah,
he likes girly drinks.
I think I've shown pictures of that one, yeah. Yeah, just give me an umbrella in it, I'm happy.
Yeah, you got to have an umbrella in it.
I think you mentioned the fishing trip when you first came on. I think that was the same excursion there. That was the same event where we did the deep sea fishing, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. I went. I got every girly drink I could get, man. Good times. It didn't have an umbrella in it. I didn't want it.
Yeah, that was a good time.
I hear you. Well, William, I got one more question before we hit the break here, but it's a doozy. You know as well as I do, if you do enough inspections, you're going to have an unhappy camper. How do you handle an unhappy camper, and do you have a process, and what does that look like?
That's a great question. We are always trying to improve on that. I have always had a procedure in place. You get the phone call, our scheduler, answer the phone, and somebody's not happy for whatever reason. She will assure them that she's going to pass the information on, and that they'll hear back from someone, ASAP. And so then I would get the call, and of course I'd pull the report and look through the reports and the pictures, and I'd meet with the inspector and get his side of what was going on, and then I would respond back to that client. And that's been working fairly well. However, I did just upgrade we put a page on our website, so, if someone calls now and they have that complaint, the scheduler can send them that link, give them that link, and then they can log on and actually fill out I call it a, review request instead of a complaint form, but
right.
They can go through there and fill that out and then submit that. So we're just going to say, it's company policy that this be completed to document all the data, and then we'll get back to you as soon as that's been submitted and we've got time to review it. So just finished that up yesterday.
Cool.
See how that works. So pretty cool because they can sign right there online. It gives you their IP address, so it'll be legal that they sign the document, and it buys us time. It buys us time then to take our time about looking through exactly what happened and were we in the right, or are we in the wrong, or what the deal is before we actually respond. And, a lot of times when people fill out that little form, they'll incriminate themselves right there in ink from what they say.
Right.
They'll get stuck on this, but I just went through one where the lady, she calls and says she's got a roof leak. I think we've done the inspection 6 months ago. And so I'm going through the report, and the inspector had in there the signs of leakage in the living room ceiling, recommend further evaluation because he couldn't see anything in the attic that would indicate that. And that's see where it's at. So in the questionnaire, because I think I tweaked it before I sent it, and I've seen the report. So in there I put, item number 7, page whatever, they actually requested further evaluation to follow these recommendations, yes or no. And so she says, yes. After I moved into home, he thought it was getting larger, so I called her. And I'm like, okay, well, that's fine. So a lot of times they'll do that, when they fill out that report. So I think that's a big help for anybody that's not got something like that in place. Have that little questionnaire.
No, I think I know we talked about that one time before. I need to add that. I think that's awesome. Well, William, we're going to get into some good stuff here pretty soon, but first, let's take a break for our sponsors for just a second.
Well, I'll admit this probably doesn't have much to do with home inspection, but it will help me pay for this podcast. If you're in need of anything to hang on the wall, along the lines of art, go to PrestonSandlin.com. Check it out. You can click on there if you're interested, and it takes you to Fine Art America, some of the stuff I've done. And you can have all kinds of things, phone case covers, all different size art things. So if you're looking for a gift or something like that, you like this podcast, it'll help me pay for this podcast. That would be awesome. And if you can prove to me that you bought something from it and I see you at a conference or something, I'll buy you an adult beverage. Thanks a lot.
All right. Well, I'm back here with William. And, William, tell us about this. Well, this kind of almost goes with that other one. But tell us about a time when you failed. Take us there and what you learned from it.
The time that I failed?
Yeah, or sometime when, something didn't work out, in business because, it happens to all of us.
I've tried some different marketing things that didn't work as well as I would like. We always try to test stuff first because of that, because you don't want to spend a lot of money, senselessly. But I think one of the bigger failures for me in the inspection business was mishandling a complaint. It's too late, especially early on when you get that first complaint and you're just, anal as hell and scared to death and yeah. So I had an incident, and this really hadn't been that long ago, 3 or 4 years ago, and you'd think that I would have handled it much better. But in hindsight, of course, you can always look back and say, man, I wish I would have said shoulda, woulda, coulda, said what. But I didn't, and it became a very heated between me and a real estate agent, and I totally lost that agent, and she was a very good referral.
Right.
So, but at that point, who cared? I didn't care, and obviously she didn't care, so kind of wrote it off. But time has a way of healing all wounds, I guess. And so I ended up getting a email from the broker owner of this company who uses us a lot. And in that email, she mentions this agent and says, she really misses not being able to work with you guys and would love to be able to put water under the bridge, blah, blah, blah. And so I just sent a little card, a send-out card thing. I never apologized for what happened, but I apologized that I said, how regretful I was that our relationship was damaged and was able to salvage that in the end. But for about a year and a half or 2 years, there was just no work from her at all. And I thought about it all the time, because there were things that there was things that I had said and the way that I handled myself that I could have chosen other ways to have a better outcome.
Yeah. No, and you were lucky you could salvage. I mean, there's a lot of them you can never salvage. But no, I'm with you. And for anybody who's listening out there, you got to take your emotion out of it. It's so easy to get defensive, and I'm saying this, and my next complaint I'll probably get defensive, but you're like, man, I tried my best for them. I wrote an 80-page report. Why are they, But it's not about you, and from their eyes, they have a legitimate complaint, whether they're wrong or right. It's hard, man. It is a hard thing to do.
I'm sorry. I just add a little more to that. I think you're kind of like me, Preston, or I get that impression from you that, you value the relationships that you build. And this particular agent was one of those that I had worked with for years and years, had been over backwards more than enough for her to go above and beyond the call of duty. And so when the thing went south, the very first contact at all that I get from her is in an email, just throwing me under the bus. You know, I mean, just beating me up one side on the other, and I'm like, you know, and this email was copied to everybody involved in the transaction, where she could have picked the phone and said, hey, you know, Willie, what the heck happened here? And but that didn't happen at all. I just strictly was thrown on the bus right from. So that put me on, you know, ticked off, defensive, and
yeah. Well, and you know, and I've got those sort of things too. And you're immediately thinking, how about all those times I've helped you out when you didn't do something you were supposed to do, and I covered for you. And you know, you threw me under the bus that quickly. You know, I'm with you, man. I've been there.
So, you know, you get your feelings hurt on top of everything else. So.
Yeah, you know, it's easy for me to give somebody advice, but it's hard for me to take my own advice sometimes.
I heard that.
Well, William, on the other end of the spectrum, do you have a moment? I had called this an "I made it" moment, but I don't like that because we always feel like we can improve. But how about I've come a long way moment? Have you ever had that moment where you're like, wow, come a long way?
You know, sometimes I guess the thing to say there is don't forget to stop and smell the roses, because, you know, we get so, being an entrepreneur and, you know, self-employed on that, we get so wrapped up in what we're doing day to day, and you know, it's all consuming. Sherry and I, we try to say, no, we're not today, you know, go do what we're going to do. We won't talk about it, but we always do.
Same here. We're not going to talk about business or the kids, and that's all we talk about.
So, you know, I think that being able to look back and reflect on the achievements that you've made and to be able to celebrate those is a real challenge because you're always pushing yourself, you know, to that next level, to that next step. So I would say as far as achievements for us, you know, we are at the point now that I can pretty much walk away from this business for, you know, 2 or 3 weeks at a time, and it runs itself with the crew that I've got is pretty self-sufficient. I mean, not that we won't get the emergency phone call if something happens, but rarely. You know, we do a lot of this coaching with Ken, and we're gone for, you know, a couple of weeks, 3 weeks sometimes, and it's just a really sweet feeling to, you know, to be able to do that and not be tied to, you know, because having a home inspection business is like, you know, Katie Goggins, she made a comment one time, it's like having a crying baby in the house.
That's true.
There's a lot, especially for the one-man shop that's answering his own phone. I mean, it is. It's true. So to be able to get beyond that point and have other interests in life and be able to do other things other than be tied to the inspection business 24/7, 365 days a year, it's a real accomplishment.
Oh, I hear you. And I have had, you know, we do work a lot, but there have been those moments where I'm sitting on the beach. Rare, but I'm sitting on the beach, you know, and I look at my phone. I'm like, you know, it's Saturday, and you know, 4 or 5 inspections are being done today, you know, for our company. And I'm at the, you know, and on top of that, I just saw a couple of online orders come, and all this is happening while I'm on the beach. You know, that is a cool feeling, and it took a long time to get to that. William, do you have a favorite book you could recommend to our listeners, and what is it about that book that appeals to you?
Gosh, I've read a lot of good books. You know, I'll put a plug in for Wally Conway. I wouldn't say it's the favorite book, but it's one that I just recently read that I thought was very, very helpful, and that's his book, The Secrets to Happy Home Inspection. Have you read that?
I have. Yeah. I love it.
I think that's a great book for folks that maybe aren't as veteran as we are. Just it's a good eye-opener, common sense stuff, but a good eye-opener. I told Wally, he said something to me about writing a book. I said, well, I was going to write a book, but after I read yours, I don't know what I'd say.
Well, he gives you a lot of ways to explain things, I think, in there. I mean, he explains things in such a way that, you know, non-home inspector, you know, realtors, buyers really understand it. And I totally stole some stuff from that book and used it in our company, you know, to tell people, you know, ways to explain things. But,
I've even made a PowerPoint presentation out of it with Wally's permission that we use for CE classes.
Oh, sweet! I might have to get you to Dropbox that too.
Sure, you know it.
All right, well, William. You know, we talked about the changes you've seen, and I know you don't have a crystal ball. None of us do. But if you had to guess, you know, 10 years from now, moving forward, how do you think home inspections will change in the future?
I think the more technology technology that's out there, the more advanced, that becomes, so will the home inspections, because everybody's got to stay current and with what's new. It's like the drones are now, and I think infrared will probably continue to improve, and who knows what the next thing that's going to come along that's going to allow us to see further through the walls and floors. So I think as technology continues to change, of course, so will we. The biggest thing, maybe not so much technical with the home inspection itself, but I think that home inspection firms have got to get, and we're trying to position ourselves more and more that way all the time, our presence, of course, online. Because I think the real estate agent's role in the referral of home inspectors will loosen up as we go more direct to the public. Because as these new generations come along, these smartphones and being online that's their life. So to actually have to meet up with a real estate agent to find what they're looking for, I think it's going to be less and less likely. Not that agents still won't have an important role, of course, but I think their hold on us will lighten up as people, these new generations that are more savvy, online savvy, are finding what they want. I think it's critical that we are there where we can be found.
No, I think you're totally right. I mean, 10 years ago, it was like the buyers completely depended on the real estate agent for a referral of a home inspector. But now, like you said, they're more educated than ever. My wife, wherever we go somewhere or go to eat or another town, she goes online, looks for reviews, gets on that, Travelocity or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
People are doing this with home inspectors, too. And, that's a whole other barrel of worms. Make sure that your online reputation is good.
Right.
That's a whole other discussion. And unfortunately, a lot of people, you do good for a lot of people. They don't go online and say it. But the few that had a bad experience are much more likely to go on there, and that's the downside of it. But you're right. I think we're going to be less dependent on real estate agents in the future. Well,
right.
William, tell me, I know this has happened to you. It's happened to all of us. Have you ever been thrown under the bus by a contractor? I know I have. How do you handle this, and have any ideas how it can be prevented?
Again, we do a lot of continuing ed for agents, and that's one of the PowerPoints I share with them is that our number one complaints come from occupied homes. Second to that, occupied or vacant, doesn't matter, is contractors that cause problems. I'll tell you one thing a couple of things. One, before I forget to say it, if we that form that I spoke of, that we have them complete before we'll respond to their complaint, in that form I have them list, any contractors that have been involved and their contact information, because if they throw me under the bus, I want to be able to call them up and set them straight.
Tell us what you really feel, William.
Because they do. I don't know if it's because they flat out don't understand, the standards of practice for a home inspector, what our licensing laws are, what have you, or they're just stupid enough to assume that we are an expert in the same field that they are, or if it's just a way to make themselves look like they know more than we do. And not all contractors do this, but the majority of them do. And I'll give you a quick example of this. Brand new construction, my inspector goes around the outside, and they've got a dryer vent in the soffit, and the louvers are loose, about to fall out of the soffit. So the report, dryer vent, louvers loose in soffit, recommend whatever. So the contractor comes out. Well, come to find out I think he said bath exhaust vent, and come to find out it was a dryer vent. Well, up in the attic, it covered 10 inches of insulation. You can't tell what's going where.
Right.
So because he had it wrong, because he said it was a dryer vent or vice versa, it wasn't what he quoted in the report, the contractor made a big deal out of it. The guy can't even tell the difference between the bathroom exhaust and a dryer vent, So then the client instantly, in their mind, is what else did they not know? What else? No. So it doesn't just pertain to that one issue when they make a comment like that. It brings up red flags for everything to that client. So to address issues like that, we have these meetings, to discuss any kind of callbacks that we get or these kind of issues. So I'm really on my guys all the time about don't be so specific. You could have just said louvers and exterior exhaust vent and soffit hoods, recommend correction rather than naming it as a dryer vent or bathroom vent. Just don't open yourself up to that.
Right.
I think Gary Montelli was telling me, I don't know, Gary.
I know Gary.
I think he called the countertop corian, just a corian instead of granite or whatever.
Right.
And it turned out to be a major deal for him. He was telling me all the hassle he went through to the contractor, well, this guy don't even know the difference between corian and granite. And, we don't even do that in our reports. We say countertop's functional.
Right.
Don't open yourself up to those things.
Well, we had one where my guy, oh man, he just double clicked the AC was 1 year old, and he how sometimes you do a double push and you don't realize it, and he said it was 11 years old, and the people had a cow, and there was nothing wrong with it. It was really 1 year old. And he said it was 11. Like you said, it just created a whole big old stir, and I'm just like, oh my goodness. And the other thing is, we used to say that, everything was okay, our piers functional or performing the function for which intended, da-da-da-da. Now, the standards of North Carolina said, we only have to say if something's wrong with it. And the problem is, by you saying, okay, it's okay, you're basically saying everything about that thing's perfect. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. That's just something to think about. But, all right. Well, William, I want to ask your opinion on something. I'm bothered sometimes what I see on home inspector forums. There's a lot of guys out there. I know you're like this, that you'll help anybody. And I know a lot of people like Gary, like you mentioned, that all these guys are positive. They'll help people, new starters. And there's some people like that on the forums. But fortunately, there's some what I call home inspector trolls. A newbie or somebody put something on there, and they'll just get jumped on. Like, they're an idiot or something. And it bothers me. Do you have any ideas about this, or how we could keep it positive or professional, or do you think it's possible?
Yeah, you can't control what those guys, how they're going to react, but I agree. I see some of that as well. Of course, we all kind of want to protect our own backyard territory, but, being a coach through the Savvy Inspector and all that, it's just, I've had so much help myself from guys like you and Ken Compton's group that, to me, it's just natural to try to give back and help folks. I get that all the time, especially being a coach. But I just had a guy that, unrelated to the coaching, I think we had done an inspection for him several years ago, and he's in the service, and so he's getting out here in a year or so and wanting to pursue the home inspection business. And I think he's in, I forget where, another state, not my state. And so, I sent him some stuff, anything I could to help him to get going. I think when I see that kind of thing, I can't help but think of myself, when I first got going, how valuable it was to have, that kind of input from other folks. You won't get it in your own backyard. Right. When I first got into it, I called one of the local guys here and said, I was just asking him questions about the industry itself, because I was debating about whether I should get in or not. And he made the comment, he said, there's no way I'm going to help you. You're just going to be my competitor, and hung up on me.
Well, at least he saved you I know that wasn't fun, but, at least he didn't play any games with you.
Yeah, right.
No, but you're right, because people don't want to, and I tell people this all the time. I'm friends with my competitors, but we obviously don't, I'm friends with some of them. We don't tell each other everything. But if somebody's starting out, you're probably going to get more help from people outside of your backyard, because just a lot of people deep down feel like that guy where, hey, why am I going to help you? You're just going to be my competitor,
Exactly.
Well, William, now keep in mind this is a G-rated show on this next question. What's the craziest or wildest or weirdest thing you've ever found on home inspection?
I was watching some of the posts there the other day. Somebody had kind of asked that on that Facebook page, and I've run into the grow operations. The funniest thing, I was in a teenage kid's room, and the attic access was there, and I popped it open, and there's all the cigarettes and wine bottles and his little stash of pot up in the attic. And so we didn't rat him out. And yeah, I've seen all the play toys and the whole TV camera get up in the master bedroom with all the toys in the closet. It's
yeah.
You kind of what are you going to say? I think it was you that, what did you that found a blow-up doll one time or something? I think it was you.
Yeah, I found an Inflatimate. Yeah, and I pulled it out of the crawl space too, man. I pulled it out. I was younger then. I didn't know any better. And man, everybody was there: the buyer, the seller, the uncle, the cousin. And I said, man, somebody's gonna miss her. And I'm looking at the seller. Yeah, anything you want to say? But I wouldn't do that now. I'd be like you with a teenage kid. I'm not gonna. Hey, different strokes, different folks, man. That's your thing. Do what you want to do.
That's one of the craziest things I've ever seen. Was a guy had the dryer bit duct taped to the access port for the burner on the hot water heater.
What?
I don't know what he was thinking.
Oh my gosh!
It's probably the craziest thing I've ever seen.
Wow.
And I guess he thought he was helping heat the water, with the heat off the dryer. I don't get it at all, but yeah, that's probably the craziest inspection thing I've ever seen.
Sure. You mentioned it, that professional home inspectors group on Facebook, which is, I think that's a pretty cool thing so far that I've been watching. They had a couple pictures. Several people had, the TPR valve on the water heater. People had just plugged it. I mean, like plugged it with a plug. And I'm just like, oh my gosh! I mean, that's a bomb, right? That is a bomb right there.
It must have been leaking, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, that thing costs like $8 to get a new one. and screw it on there. But anyway, well, that's good stuff. Well, William, do you have a training or internet marketing a training or internet or marketing resource you'd be willing to share with anybody, or an app or anything that might be helpful to our listeners?
Training or marketing, being the coach of Ken, I have to say, if you get a chance to make one of our workshops or check out some of the online stuff there, there's just a ton of gold nuggets, especially for the new guys starting out. If you want to expand and grow your business, there's a ton of resources there. And it's the best place to direct somebody. We are constantly, like you, looking for that next big marketing piece to get out there and go with. We just implemented OneSource. I don't know if everybody's familiar with that or not, but it's a concierge service, for all of your utility, phone, security system, whatever, anything you need to hook up to the home. That's completely free. So we just added that. I think that's going to be a big, just another bell and whistle to add to your USPs.
Cool. I want to talk to you about that offline sometime. I saw those guys. I went to the show in Vegas, and I heard them talk, and I want to talk to you about that offline. I mean, nothing against the listeners or anything, but lots of details and stuff. Just I have some questions about that, but good stuff.
They came to our events and presentation workshop that we had there in Jasper, and so I got to meet John Leach as a fellow. I got to meet him and talk about what they do, and it's just a win-win for everybody. But the funny story is he walked away from that workshop and did a presentation. And one of the things we covered down there was a little scheme of dressing up like doctors. They got this whole thing set up for a booth or a presentation. So he modeled that, if you will, and did a lot of posts on Facebook and had a lot of fun with it. So it's cool. A lot of people walk away and implement that stuff into good. So
cool, good stuff. Well, William, we're winding down. Sorry I kept you so long, but we're both talkers.
yeah, we're good.
William, what's the best part of your job and why, and what's the worst part of your job and why?
The best part of it, of course, is the marketing. We love doing that. I like to be different and surprising with what we do, and just getting that feedback from the real estate agents. We get requests from a lot of agents to help them, come up with some of the marketing or share what we do or the thought process behind what we do. So Sherry and I both really, all the things that we do. If you're a home inspector now and you're looking to grow and you don't enjoy the marketing part of it, you've got a challenge.
Yeah, sure.
And we love to do that. And you're a big help to us with that as well with the flyers and what have you. So that's probably the most enjoyable part of it, getting out and mingling, and we get invited to a lot of events and that kind of thing. So we enjoy that. The hardest part is being a boss to the rest of the guys, and trying to hold them in line and do as I say, not as I do. kind of thing, and so that's tough. When I came into this business, I've never dreamed that it would grow to be what it is, where I would be in this position and have to actually manage and be the boss over people again. Because that's kind of what I was getting away from. But so far it's worked out real well. It has its ups and downs, but all in all, we've really been blessed and enjoy what we do. But yeah, the marketing's the most fun, and dealing with employees and disgruntled clients. If it wasn't for the agents and the clients, this would be an awesome job.
I hear you. Well, speaking of being the boss, I do have a question off script and I've had to do this, and it was horrible. Have you had to fire anybody? It's hard, man.
I did, but the guy kind of fired himself. It's a long, drawn-out story. It was coming to a head where I was going to have to let him go anyway. But then he had an accident and actually got busted with some pot in his truck. So that was, easy.
That's not good. That's not good. Good thing he wasn't inspecting that house with a teenage kid.
Right. He was off hours and on his own time and all that good stuff. But I wouldn't let that stand. And so that kind of gave me an easy out when that happened. But he was one of these guys that just continually showing up late, forever getting his reports out. It's not very reliable.
I had the same thing. I had a guy, and he went through a bad divorce, so I felt bad for him. He had a drinking problem. I mean, he was a great inspector, but he, was one of those guys that got started. He couldn't stop, and, he couldn't get up and get to the inspection. I mean, I know that's terrible, but I mean, I felt bad for him, for the longest time, and I wanted to help him, but you can't help somebody if they don't want to help themselves,
That's right.
Well, William, is there anything you're working on right now that has you stoked or excited about?
We've got a pretty good campaign. We have the Louisville market's been our main concentration here. That's just a huge market over there. And I waited way too long to open that door. But about a year and a half ago, we did. So I'm continuing to progressively market new areas within the corridor that we're working. I've been pretty excited. My daughter, Kayla, bringing her on as our marketing rep has been just phenomenal. She's a real people person, so she's opened up a lot of doors that I would, and I hate to say it, but just because of the male-female deal, when you've got somebody out there as a man, if you invite, a top producer to lunch,
it looks a little,
Yeah. So I'll just leave it at that. But that's been a real plus for us getting her in over there. So we've been able to strategically identify the offices that have 6 or more top producers in them that are within the route that we're already working. And, I'm like you, I use the candy houses a lot, but these particular offices, I am trying to inundate them without investing in the candy. And so far, starting to pay off pretty well because I've got I know you do too, but I got 30 of these houses out there, man. And it's just, not that you don't get your money back on them, but just the time that it takes stopping in and maintaining those and doing what you're supposed to do when you've got them in there. So we're just trying to see how well we can do without them, and it's getting off to a good start here. So I've got some high hopes there.
Oh, good stuff. And that's I'm glad you said what you said about that, because I thought that too. I've heard a lot of marketing things, say take a top producer to lunch, take a top, or you should always, and majority of them are I mean, let's just face it, let's address the elephant in the room. Most real estate agents are women. I mean, there's definitely men, but I think I saw they're 70 or 80% are women. So a lot of them are women, and if they're roughly my age, 5, 7, 8, 10 years, one way or the other, I just feel awkward. I'm a married man, got kids, and so are they. And I mean, Charlotte's a big town, but it's a small town too, and I just don't want anything misinterpreted or anything. So I think you're right dead on with that. It's good to have a woman. A woman can invite another woman to lunch, but a man invites a woman to lunch. I don't know, man. I'm with you on that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I had a Keller Williams marketing director that I was, trying to get in the door with, and so I had asked her over the phone, and I'm like, well, maybe we get next Tuesday. I'll be over there. Any chance that we could do lunch? And she comes back and says, well, something about I have to see what my husband's plans were for the day. So she was real to know, hey, I'm married, and
Yeah, and then you feel like, no, I didn't mean it like that. I'm like, oh man, Yeah. No, I'm with
Anyway,
you. I'm totally with you on that. All right, so we just got 3 questions left. Now, I apologize I kept it so long. William, this one's a little tricky, but not really. If you had to move to a brand new area equal to the size and population where you live now, and you had to start all over, room and board are taken care of, you still have all your same equipment, all your same knowledge, you still got Sherry, you still got all your marketing, everything is the same. It's a brand new place where you don't know anybody. You got $5,000. What are you doing with that $5,000 in the first week?
Oh, I thought you were going to ask me where I would go. Okay.
No. Well, basically, what's your highest return on investment on that $5,000? It's kind of like somebody starting out again. How's that money going to be best spent, you think?
In a brand new area, I would definitely put that into getting my face in front of those identifying who those top producers are in that area and go about getting face in front of them. And I don't know, without research, knowing the area and what other marketing that might be going on that you're up against, that might consist of, the flyers that you have or, send out cards or doing in the candy houses in there, get yourself introduced, who you are and what you got to offer. What's in it for them to call your number?
Sure. No, good stuff. Well, William, is there anything that I should have asked you, but I didn't?
I would go to Florida, by the way.
Nice. Yeah, I hear your winters are kind of cold. Last winter was a tough one. All right, is there anything that I should have asked you that I didn't?
No, that's very good. Very good, Preston. I can't think of anything. I think there was some good stuff here. Hopefully somebody can glean something off of this.
Sure. And very last question, is there anything you want to ask me?
No, I'll give you a big shout out. Thanks for inviting me and for helping us, achieve our goals over the years. You've always been there to support us. And
the same thing. I was going to say that earlier when you were talking about being creative and stuff. If you guys aren't friends with William and Sherry Troutman, I highly recommend become friends with them. They do some awesome stuff. And what's your Facebook business page so everybody can out there and give you a like, and hopefully that'll help you.
I think it's just Certainty Home Inspections. You should be able to just punch that in and it'll pop up.
Okay, Certainty Home Inspections. And if they wanted to get in touch with you, is there a way they can get in touch with you, William?
You can just email chichi@blueriver.net.
Okay. And it's Certainty Home Inspections in what's the technical name of your little town that you're in?
Salem is where our office is, but if you're going to search us online, Certainty Home Inspections will get you there. Either Louisville or New Albany.
Okay.
Or New Albany, Indiana is where we're probably top ranked.
Okay. Well, guys, if you got some value, and I know you did from William today, he gave a lot of value bombs. Go like his business page, Certainty Home Inspections. And William, thank you so much for your time. You've been more than gracious.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right. Have a good one, William.
See ya.
All right. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Successful Home Inspector Podcast today. You can find the show links at the successfulhomeinspectorpodcast.com. And tune in again next time. Check out their website for any special offers or books or anything of that nature. Thanks again.